The rain was coming down in sheets, making it almost impossible for Rachel to see the road ahead. She had been driving for hours, trying to get home before the storm hit, but now she was stuck on a deserted stretch of highway with no hope of rescue. As she drove, Rachel began to feel a sense of dread wash over her. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, even though there was no one else around. The hair on the back of her neck stood up and she found herself gripping the steering wheel tighter, as if that could somehow protect her. Suddenly, Rachel's car started to shake and she felt a thump. She pulled over to the side of the road and got out to see what had happened. As she approached the back of the car, she saw that one of the tires was completely flat. Rachel cursed her luck and reached into the trunk to grab the spare tire. As she was changing the tire, she heard a noise behind her. She turned to see a figure standing in the rain, watching her. Rachel's heart raced as the figure stepped closer, revealing itself to be a tall, thin man with a gaunt face and piercing eyes. She tried to run, but her feet seemed rooted to the ground. "Please, don't hurt me," Rachel begged, but the man didn't respond. He just stood there, watching her with a blank expression. Rachel's fear turned to panic as she realized that the man was not human. His eyes glowed with an otherworldly light and his skin seemed to shimmer in the rain. Rachel knew she had to get away, but she was frozen with fear. Just as the man reached out to touch her, Rachel's cell phone rang. She answered it, grateful for the distraction. It was her husband, asking where she was and if she was okay. Rachel's voice shook as she told him what had happened. Her husband assured her that he was on his way and would be there to help her. As Rachel waited for her husband to arrive, the man continued to stand there, watching her. She could feel his presence, even though he didn't move or speak. Rachel knew she had to keep talking to her husband, to keep the connection to the real world. But as the minutes ticked by, Rachel began to fear that her husband would never make it in time. She was trapped on the side of the road with a creature from another realm, and no one knew where she was. Rachel's heart pounded in her chest as the man took a step closer, his eyes fixed on her. She knew she was running out of time. And then, just when all seemed lost, she heard the sound of tires on the wet pavement. Rachel's husband had arrived, and the man disappeared. Rachel collapsed into her husband's arms, shaking and crying. She knew she would never forget the terror she had experienced that night on the deserted stretch of highway.